Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Warcraft news, where it really has been quite a week. We've got major lore confirmations, real major ones. We've got a neat new reward for the Dungeoneers, big news with Preach and Ian, as well as a whole bunch more because some Torghast changes are in. I know how much you all like Soul Ash. We've also got Jeff Kaplan leaving Blizzard, and many endgame changes and things to talk about. It's a pretty damn stacked day, and to get a stack of loot for yourself, you gotta go over to Patreon where you get this small axe that is in fact a pin, not really an axe. You can wear the pin, so yes, you can get an axe in the post. How cool. Plus, actually a bunch more loot as well that comes along with that. And if Matt and I's vocal cords can actually hold up, lots and lots more in the near future, so eyes peeled. Patrons, thank you for everything. With that said, let's go. Blizzard have announced a new book, and it's a pretty big one for the lore because it is Warcraft Sylvanas by Christie Golden. This promises to give us every detail we could ever want on her life, every motivation, event, and emotion along the way. Sylvanas is going to release November 9th with an audiobook also being narrated by her voice actor, Patty Mattson. Interesting. It's going to be a hell of a book. Now, what does this mean for the in-game version of Sylvanas? I think that's an obvious thing in people's heads. And I mean, they have generally confused people and not done a good job of putting Sylvanas' motivations, in the game because we never get her point of view. So it kind of feels weird that they're, selling missing bits of the Warcraft story as a book. Because it's the sort of thing where I really don't consider this to be just a nice little add-on transmedia narrative thing on the side. I think that understanding her motivations is actually core to enjoying the story, and I wish they would have more of that be in game. Now, there is the excitement angle, though, where certainly as somebody who likes the lore, I'm really going to get into this book. Now, there is actually a lot of lore on the channel next week. I can tease you with this. We think that 9.1 could actually be the end of her story. Could be a very, very major thing. She's got a choice to make, and we'll know what that choice is very soon, because as Jeremy Fiesel said at BlizzConline, the finale of our fight with her will change the future of the Shadowlands. You know what? That's actually exciting stuff. I can't wait to fight my way to the end of that raid. But yes, as always, it's frustrating for Blizzard to seemingly focus their storytelling outside of the game rather than within it, but I would say that at least their books and comics are actually pretty damn good. Okay, let's move on. We're in for a treat this week because on Tuesday, Preach has another interview on stream with game director Ian Hazzikostas. Now, this is anything like the last one. I think it'll be the perfect combination of, entertaining and insightful. Maybe with a little bit of frustrations coming in there when some player opinion doesn't exactly mesh with what the team think. So if you've got any burning questions, look, Preach is asking for them on Twitter. He's already been inundated with them, though. So I hope Ian's ready for the community's passion. In all seriousness, though, this is exactly what we want to see. Preach's last interview with him was significantly more candid than we'd expect from the usual tightly controlled sort of window of PR BlizzCon interviews, and it was really nice to see that. It's also nice to see Blizzard actually do it again, because a lot of what Ian said in that interview was basically used against Blizzard, right? It was used against them as things sort of rolled on, and people began to think, Ian talked about pulling the ripcord, and then people said, well, guess what, I don't actually think there was a ripcord. Was there lying going on there? So it's sort of thing where it did create a bit of a PR headache for Blizzard. And I actually bring that up because it is a good thing that, even though there was texture to that last interview, Blizzard are willing to do it again. That is the sort of willingness to engage with criticism and stuff that I truly do think is great and important. So I applaud them for it. And yeah, hopefully they can get to the bottom of our issues on stream. So there you go. I'm excited. Then next up, and as we covered over in our news channel this week, Jeff Kaplan left Blizzard. So that happened. Overwatch 2 does actually seem to be progressing in a great direction, I would say, based on BlizzConline, although slowly. I should say it's in good hands because Jeff's assistant director, Aaron Keller, is taking on his spot. By the way, Aaron Keller, on World of Warcraft, he built Teldrassil, Ironforge, he mapped out Stormwind. He was pretty much there from the beginning of WoW, and now that's what he's doing, directing Overwatch. Now, Jeff's actual reason for leaving is a mystery. It is possible that 19 years at Blizzard has tired him out, and he's off for a Mattson-style break. I mean, hell, even staying 19 years at the same company is super rare in any industry, including games. Maybe, though, he is following other Blizzard veterans to the likes of Dreamhaven or Frostgiant. Certainly, I think there was a few wink-wink nudge-nudge sort of reading in between the lines sort of things going on when I watched Your Overwatches, their channel, their video on this, where, I mean, they basically said, like, there's more they could say, but they wouldn't want to actually, you know, leak private, like, emails that they had with Jeff. But I think the point there was that Jeff very much had a vision, very much fought for it, and that it seems like Overwatch is changing a little bit. But actually, it seems to be changing in a way that people seem to like, so it's really hard to read into that. Another interesting thing, and you'll see more on our news channel for this, but Toys for Bob appear to actually be hiring up FPS staffers, and there are some rumors that they are moving on to working on Overwatch 2, perhaps in a similar way to how Vicarious Visions are actually working on Diablo 4 now. Jeff sure does have an interesting history with things. He was a veteran World of Warcraft developer. He went by the name of Tiggle, a somewhat toxic EverQuest World First Raider. You should see the email he sent, or the forum post, to the EverQuest dev team when he did like a fight. It's a legendarily funny read. But of course, he turned WoW developer, even game director in World of Warcraft for a bit. And that said, he did design the Green Hills of Stranglethorn Quest, so there's that too. Still, sad to see Blizzard continue to lose major leadership and many people going. Here's to hoping the new staff can, step up to the plate, right? It's kind of their baton to carry now. All right, moving into the in-game news. This week's public test realm build brings more context to the Torghast changes, and it actually, literally opens the doors of Torghast for us. Now, we've not actually had really a chance to dive in and test it yet, but what we do know is what the Mega Soul Ash currency from last week is. And that is, it's now called Soul Cinders. It's a new currency that is available from the new, harder layers of Torghast. That is all we know, but it's likely used with the Vestige of Origins reagent to craft and upgrade the higher rank of Legendaries that's available in 9.1. Look, we'll keep you posted with acquisition rates and caps once we know what's up there. All I'd say is I hope that Torghast doesn't happen and that people don't end up having to go to Torghast to get their Legendaries, even though they don't really want to go and do Torghast. I say that because I really like Torghast, and I would like it to just be standing on its own 2 feet. I just think that a smaller number of people engaging in Torghast but actually enjoying it more is the more healthy way to go. Okay, now I did also just say harder layers, and there are harder layers. Layers 9 through 12 have been added, but they have new unlock requirements that are tied to Blizzard's new scoring system. So to unlock layers 9 and 10, you will need to earn 5+ gems, as they call them, on layers 8 and 9. For 11 and 12, you'll only need a +4 on 10 and 11. Now, we've got no context for how these gems are earned, but we can just presume that it's kind of like a star rating system and that it's based on the score that you get. And that's a scoring system that presumably will look at speed, deaths, enemies killed, and things like that. That's based on data mine strings, so we'll have to wait and see how it shakes out in practice. Now, we've also got 2 new wings. We've got the Adamant Vaults and the Forgotten Catacombs. So that'll be nice for a bit of visual flair. No details, but nice to see. And then we've got the thing I'm actually excited for. There's a new currency called Tower Knowledge, and we've got nothing but a description for it. It's the manifestation of knowledge gained in Torghast, used to unlock the power of the Box of Many Things. Who the hell knows, right? I mean, what is it? Is it floor skips? Is it a new upgrade tree? We have absolutely no idea. But I will say this. If you have a knowledge currency that you earn from doing Torghast runs, that you then take out of Torghast, and then if the Box of Many Things is a upgrade and reward system, then that actually could end up with Torghast having a full roguelite gameplay loop, where the way to be better at Torghast is to play Torghast. Which, I mean, does seem like common sense, but unfortunately, that's not how they launched it, and that's part of what led to people calling it Torghast now, which is kind of sad, because I still believe that Torghast could be immensely good for the game. Now then, Mythic Plus changes, where we've got a new reward. the challenge mode teleports from all the way back in Mists of Pandaria, they're back. And they will be for people who can complete a +20 run in time. So each dungeon that you beat at +20 on time will unlock a teleport, right? So it'll be a teleport to that dungeon entrance that's going to be on an 8-hour cooldown, but that will reset after completing any Mythic Plus dungeon. So that's a big quality of life change. It saves you a bit of time. It's a quality of life change unlocked by excelling at a specific piece of content. More, please. That's great. I mean, that is just a cool reward to be able to, after this expansion, look at your character sheet and be like, oh yeah, look, I've got those. I unlocked those teleports. Like how if I look at my hunter, I can see that my hunter's got a bunch of those Mists of Pandaria teleports unlocked and the challenge mode set from MoP, which is something that, I still take a bit of satisfaction in that I did that with, at the time, a great guild of wonderful people. I mean, how great. So I think that's a brilliant move from Blizz. Now, as for the dungeons themselves, well, the Sanguine Depths has been nerfed. Certain mobs hit slower and weaker with their abilities. The third boss doesn't chain cast Endless Torment, and the Naru pickup cleanses bleeds. It also has an interesting bug fixed. Players found they could extend plus turbo stack the buff from the Venthyr lanterns by killing neutral NPCs and even critters. And even critters spawn from toys. So the meta strategy was to use the stack of spectral spiders, giant deathweb egg, and even blingtrons to gain really big stacks without even having to overpull. Fun use of game mechanics, definitely busted. And finally, here's a note from our resident Mythic Plus fiend in our team, Dakor, who says, who told me to give you all a shout out to the website Keystone Guru. It's one he's been enjoying, and certainly with this new Mythic Plus reward, I think one I'll probably end up using in this new patch. It's an online tool that lets you pre-plan your dungeon routes. So if you've got a second monitor, you can actually keep it open and you can track what to pull next. And it even offers team support, exports to Mythic Dungeon tools, community routes, and more. So it's great. Check it out. Another build and more Legendaries. A few more of the Covenant-specific Legos are up, including some, awesome-sounding Paladin ones, which is great for my fellow teammates, Dakor and Matt, who are kind of like kids in Christmas Day looking at, this one. Divine Toll reverberates again for 60% effectiveness every 10 seconds after casting for 30 seconds. As if it was not already a wild enough ability for Holy Paladins. Look, it may not end up that strong, but that's definitely fun. The Necro and Night Fae Legos are in this build, as well as some for Rogues and Shamans. So, nice to see our legendary repertoire grow with a new patch. Okay, so time for some fun lore, because, soft spoilers here. It's kind of what we would have expected to see, but it's confirmed. We get the powerful team-ups of Thrall and Draka, Kilthas, and Baroness Vash in the quest lines for patch 9.1. And you know what, actually? Looking at the new Covenant chapters, they're pretty damn good. Fair enough, Blizzard. The new Covenant campaign chapters are actually pretty damn good, as is the continued questing in Korthia. So that's good news. Now, of course, that's just one-off content, and it is increasingly seeming like Korthia is really just a few daily quests and a weekly thing, so that's not super hype. But as much as that stuff won't have a bearing on your post-patch launch gameplay, it is nice that that content is actually pretty damn good. And I'll say that both the Draka Thrall and Kael Vash things have got pretty damn nice character moments. So Blizzard actually earned what they got there. GG. Then another thing, a very cool thing, is Prince Renathal spilling the beans, because he confirms that Denathrius did in fact create the Nathrezim after the Venthyr. Yeah, the Nathrezim are natives of Revendreth, and he made them to be the perfect infiltrators, which is obviously what we saw them doing. Well, it turns out those Nathrezim were noticed, leading to the full wrath of the light falling upon Revendreth and the destruction of the Nathrezim's ward, which of course is the Ember Ward that we see in-game. Now, the light was eventually cast out. They were routed, but Eventually, so too are the Nathrezim, because rather than have a civil war happen between, the Stone Dudes and the Venthyr and the Nathrezim, Denathrius saw the situation, that the Nathrezim had really, it was their fault, the Light had invaded, and according to Renathal, Denathrius cast them out, exiling them to the world of Nathrezah. Now, of course, I think we know that they continued to work for Sire Denathrius as Death's guys on the outside. And hell, even Mal'Ganis, he's been data mined in this patch. I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but I think you know what happens. They're still, they're still all about. Dreadlords are awesome. So basically, there you have it. I mean, man, this is hard confirmation of our many theories, and I just say this. Check out this video from last year if you'd like more. We even voice acted it. We put so much effort into it. It's all Dreadlordy stuff. It is super fun. I think you'll enjoy it a lot if you're into the Dreadlord lore. But there you go. Big lore confirmation in-game. There's also a bit of an Elune tease, but I've not fully broken it down yet, so I'll keep that one in the back pocket for later. Alright, back to gameplay time, where Havoc Demon Hunters can rejoice. This week's Public Test Realm build brings buffs to single target, but at the cost of a bit of AoE. So, DHs, you're getting a 15% buff to Demon's Bite, Demon Blades, Chaos Strike, and Annihilation. Though, Unbound Chaos is actually down from 600% to 500%. So, I think overall that's good news for the DHs. Then for the sub-rogues, well, you guys got a 20% buff to Backstab and Gloomblade, plus a 33% increase to Black Powder's damage per combo point. Though, the sort of counteracted because the additional shadow damage it causes targets to take with Find Weakness has actually been reduced from 50% to 40%. Lastly then, Shuriken Storm Rank 2 now increases its crit chance by 15%. And with that said, that is that for your class changes. Well, we did have a section in this week's raid testing, but the raid testing was actually cancelled at the last moment, so there goes this section of the video. What I will say, though, is I thought the Tower Grew was a really pretty damn cool boss fight from what I saw of the footage from last week's test, where you kind of, you gotta pick anima powers before the fight. Of course, it's the first boss of the raid, so it's designed to be a cakewalk, but hey, I think they're actually making it a pretty neat and fun cakewalk, which is generally something I really like with the first bosses of raids. Like, they're never hard, but I think they're almost always quite fun. It's Classic time, so Classic Patch 1.13.7 has dropped, bringing with it the removal of spell batching, changes to buff priority such that short buffs will not knock off important ones, and of course the Chrono Boon Displacer that we covered vaguely recently. Now, this batching change is certainly going to be interesting because it basically, to cut a long story short, will give some of those classic abilities, some modern WoW responsiveness. But seal twisting paladins, don't worry, your seal twisting is going to be preserved. Now, for the Burning Crusade, over in the beta, they have switched on PvP battlegrounds and arena skirmishes on the level 70 pre-made server. Nice to see, I think TBC progress does actually seem to be going on at a fantastic rate. And in preparation for TBC Classic, Blizzard are going to be temporarily closing character transfers for WoW Classic. And they're doing this to prepare the snapshotting system that is going to accommodate the character copy from your Classic server right now over to TBC. Now that means that character transfer services will close April 30th and are expected to remain closed multiple weeks after. And that means I wouldn't be surprised if we see TBC Classic pre-patch pretty damn soon, maybe in May, and of course that pre-patch means we'll be able to start leveling up our Draenei's and our Blood Elves, which I think I'm gonna do. I'm really excited. Okay, with that covered, it's time for Rapid Fire. Alright, lots of news to get through. We now know exactly how flying will be earned in patch 9.1. It is chapter 3 of the new campaign. This will basically give you a book, you'll use the book, and that will unlock flying everywhere in the Shadowlands, bar the Maw and Korthia, and it will be account-wide. So you're going to get flying in the first 2 to 3 weeks of patch 9.1, which I think is brilliant news to all our ears. And certainly there's a bunch of things like that world content that I am so much more willing to do if it's on a flying mount. Next then, there's less than $50,000 of charity donations to go before Daisy is unlocked. Though, honestly, by the time you see this video, I imagine we'll have crossed the $1 million mark, which is great, raising money for a bunch of great charities, and unlocking Daisy for everybody. Okay, it's time for secrets. The puzzle behind obtaining the elusive slime serpent mount has finally been cracked by the, I think, very cool and inventive people from the Secret Finding Discord. And in order to get this mount, you've actually got to do something cool. You've got to solo the last 2 bosses of Plaguefall on Heroic or Mythic difficulty. That's something that some classes, many classes maybe, won't be able to do just yet. Or at the very least, you'll need a whole bunch of gear and a good strategy. But I've got to say, I love this. I bloody love this because, do you know what's so awesome about this, right? I did not need to work out this secret, but I still get some content and a cool challenge, a soloing challenge. You know? Like, there are sometimes, no, it's not going to feel exactly like doing a mage tower or something, but sometimes when you're there, you're under geared, you're trying to solo a boss, you get those vibes. So Blizzard, big thumbs up. I love how you've done that one. Next up then, let's talk about rewards. So the Vicious mounts that were added for each of the 4 Battle for Azeroth PvP seasons, they're now going to be available to purchase from the Vicious Saddle vendor. That'll be good news to many because I believe, I have it on decent authority, that hippo has got quite the online following. He's a bit of a celebrity, that hippo. Okay, next up, we've got new rewards for the 17th anniversary that have been data mined, and unsurprisingly, they're TBC themed. So last year, Doomwalker, world boss from Shadowmoon Valley, was data mined and speculated to be tied to a future anniversary event. Guess what? The future is, well, it's not now, it's next November when the event happens. So loot has also been added to Doomwalker on the public test realm, and this actually does include updated versions of his original loot, as well as a mount, which is the Illidari Dragonhawk, that of course retains all of the low-res charm that you would come to expect from a Burning Crusade Dragonhawk, though I should note that Mythic Sylvanas actually does drop a beautiful high-res Dragonhawk mount as well. So pretty cool. Then we've got another goodie in Akama's Edge, which, of course, represents the weapons wielded by Akama. So, neat for the Mog people. Next then, for Rapid Fire, we've got 9.1 adding text-to-speech as an in-game accessibility option. It actually includes more voice packs and channel-specific toggles, which is big because it means you could enable text-to-speech for all, as an example, raid warnings from your raid leader. So that's pretty awesome, nice tool. Then also there's a small chat moderation update that's now in the live servers, which prevents people from sending messages that contain words from a so-called reserved word list. So it's more aggressive, it's very proactive as a stance, you know, for chat moderation, keeping down racist language, things like that. Which, you know, fair enough. Honestly though, I do kind of doubt it will work that well because people generally will find ways around a banned word list that often mean, you know, creating like new or different words with the definition of the old one, which just kind of means it's like a whack-a-mole situation. But, I mean, yeah, I think there are certain words there which, yeah, are obviously going to be on that list for obvious reasons. So that's the situation. I do expect the trade chat and general chat will still be a bit of a clusterfuck. Certainly during, you know, waits before pulls, your eye glances down to general chat and Castle Nathria. And there's usually some sort of situation going on down there. So there we have it for the news, and as a final closing note here, look, Korthia stuff, the Maw stuff. I've been pretty clear that from what I've seen in the PTR, it's fairly uninspiring, but also fairly, well, you know, not exactly annoying, right? Because it doesn't really get in your way. Korthia right now does seem to be like 4 daily quests. We don't really know if more will happen there. We're not really sure what's up with the mod touch gear. But the thing about this channel is I'm always going to be perfectly honest with you. So you've got to understand, and some people really struggle with this, I can like some things and not really like other things. So the quest lines in Korthia are pretty cool. They are. The Covenant campaigns, you know what, fair enough, Blizz. Like, they're actually, I think, a real good step up in terms of just what they're covering and the events being cool. As we've seen more of it, you know, happen, like the Thrall stuff, the Kale stuff, like that is really quite cool. And as I look at the rest of this patch, I mean, man, get ready for next week's lore videos. You're going to love them because, man, the raid is so cool. There's so much, like, lore that all just happens, you know, sort of leads over into that raid. It's awesome stuff. So it's that thing for me where, yeah, I think, like, the Maw, sort of the Maw world content stuff is just, like, nowhere near exciting enough to be worth getting the patch for. But everything else so far, actually does seem pretty up my alley and seems like it's going in a better direction. So I just thought it was worth leaving at that, like, pretty positive note because, I mean, I just have to make that clear because people sometimes see, you know, I criticize Corthy and then suddenly they think I think the entire patch is shit and you shouldn't play it, which is obviously not the case, and those who actually listen will know, but sometimes that just gets out there and I felt like it's important to say what's up. So there you go, I've said what's up. That's it for the video. If you want to get some neat stuff, you know, get an axe that I have, in fact... Oh, there it is. Hey, if you want to get an axe, probably not the one that just fell into my crotch, you can do that over at the Patreon. I don't know, maybe the crotch one's an extra tier, hey? No, anyway, that's it for me. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.